We've had an overview of how deep learning applies to natural language processing. We've talked about the elements of natural language and how we can represent them as vectors in our deep learning models and how that's more efficient and nuanced than the traditional machine learning approaches. We have gone over installation, particularly the use of a GPU, so we're all set for hardware. And we've reviewed our deep learning fundamentals. We haven't really learned very much extra NLP specific code yet. However, I wanted to just give you guys a taste of what we will be doing to reinforce some of the concepts from here and to get you excited about what's to come. So not all of this will make a huge amount of sense right now, but bear with me, shortly it all will. So if we are on the TensorFlow Live Lessons page here, we can click through to the notebooks, and you can see here there are tons of notebooks from the previous live lessons as well as the current ones. You can follow along by looking at the notebooks in here. We're going to be talking about the bidirectional LSTM notebook, so you can have a look at that on the web. But I actually have everything running here on a Jupyter, and so I'm going to show it to you in here. So we're looking at the bidirectional LSTM file right now. So in these live lessons, one of the key data sets that we'll be working with are movie reviews. Some of these are positive reviews, some of them are negative, and we will be training a classifier to read in the natural language of those reviews and become quite good at predicting whether an unseen movie reviews have a positive or negative sentiment. The core of the neural network that we'll be using to do that work will have a bunch of different approaches, but I wanted to show you the bidirectional LSTM notebook right now because many people working in this field would say that bidirectional LSTMs are making huge strides. They're being involved in so many natural language applications today in one way or another. And we'll be calling those LSTMs in TensorFlow using the Keras high-level API. So we don't need to go hugely into our dependencies right now. We'll do that when we run this notebook properly later, but suffice to say, we'll be seeing many of the old terms and layers that we saw before. We'll be seeing dense layers. We'll be dropping out neurons from those layers. And we will be setting the number of epochs that we train over. That should be something that's familiar. We will be setting our batch size, our mini batch size for our gradient descent. And we will be specifying, these are two new kinds of neuron layers that you haven't encountered yet. Vector space embedding, we'll go over that very shortly, but we need to set parameters for that. And then we also have particular parameters for our LSTM layer, and we'll be talking about the LSTM specifically later on. We need to load in our data. We'll be using a helper function, similar to the way that we did in the previous live lessons with the MNIST datasets. A little bit of pre-processing, and then you can see the network architecture here. It's pretty simple for this architecture. A lot is happening though behind the scenes. It's amazing. So we have an embedding layer that will be taking in the text of our movie reviews and putting that into a vector space like we introduced earlier in these live lessons to efficiently and flexibly represent the meaning of words from those reviews. Then we'll be using a dropout layer to avoid overfitting. Then we pass the information into a bidirectional LSTM. There's a wrapper around the LSTM layer right there. We'll be using dropout again there. And then we output the information using a sigmoid layer to get a probability of how likely this is to be a positive interview, so that'll be an output closer to a 1, or a negative review, and that would be an output closer to a 0. To configure our model, we'll have similar old friends here. We were using cross entropy in the previous live lessons. We'll be using that again. Our optimizer is Atom, which we've already mentioned, and we'll be looking at accuracy to evaluate our performance, just how well it's putting our movie reviews, the unseen movie reviews, guessing whether they're positive or negative, how accurately it's doing that. We'll save the results of our runs, we'll fit the model, and then we'll evaluate it. So I'm excited to show you how all of this stuff will work. We're going to go over a bit of essential theory, some fun notebooks to get you there. I'm excited. I hope you are too.